when they're drumming, I've heard say.
Is your mic on?
You come into the present moment and focus and drop away all your worries and cares. You're just with the drum. Isn't that cool? I'll get it. So we've got less seats back there because we want everybody to fill in. So could people move down this way so that people coming in can sit on those ends? So move down. Move toward the center. So leave space is you guys move down that way. And then people coming in can sit on that end. Maybe you want to be on the end, but if you can move down, move down. So we leave a few chairs available for people. See what I'm saying? So welcome here. Through the smoke to the clear mind space, heart space of unity and enlightenment. Welcome out of the smoke. I'm glad that some of you didn't just flee town, that you're here. I felt like fleeing, but I didn't. I'm here. And really glad to be with you all because there's things that we can do to help each other in the midst of no matter what's going on, right? So figured a very active and enjoyable time together today can build our spirits and actually strengthen our immune systems and actually heal us. So today I'm going to be talking about the power, the healing power of drumming. And we're going to be doing a lot of drumming and singing some great songs together. But first, a couple of announcements. Don't forget that on Mondays we have a wonderful prayer gathering in the back room back there. Will the prayer partners raise your hand so people can see who's here today, the prayer partners? So if you come and you've got a burden on your heart that doesn't get all the way lifted while you're here, after the service you can pray with the prayer partners and help to bring it all the way through to healing. You can write your prayer on a piece of paper, put it in the wooden box back there, and they're prayed over in that wonderful, powerful group, and then they're sent off to the Unity headquarters where they pray for them at the prayer tower for 30 days. So we've seen such amazing miracles and answers to prayer happen through this process. Another announcement is that we're leading up to September 21st when it's a big day in Ashland. It's the International Day of Prayer, but the Ashland Council of Peace Commission, Culture of Peace Commission is doing a lot leading up to that, and then on the day of the 21st, which is a Thursday, there's a big all-community gathering at the Grange where there'll be speakers and
I'll be singing.
Jane's going to be singing. Yeah, that's great.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
So it starts September 11th. We're doing 11 days of peace.
11 days of
peace. Yeah, we're meeting at Lithia Park in the grassy front area, 5:30 to 6:30 every evening. There's going to be something. So the September 11th to the 21st.
Ooh, that's great.
Yeah, the 12th is a labyrinth walk.
12th is a labyrinth walk. Okay, so Ashland has declared itself a city of peace. And there's a lot that goes into actually making that real. So please help and come on those days, those powerful days that people all over the world are focusing on peace. Any other announcements?
Unless you have a drumming app on your phone, you better turn them off.
Oh! Unless you're using your phone to do the drumming today, turn it off. Okay, we're going to have the kids stay in here a little bit longer with us because we're not going to do the blessing of the children right now because I think they'd enjoy the drumming part.
Just to remind people that the bathroom is...
And the bathroom back there is unisex during the service. And stay after for refreshments so we can all talk and get to know one another. And
Anybody who used one of my drums, if you please put it back on the cloth when you were done, I'd really appreciate it.
And one last announcement at the end, we could use help putting the chairs back.
oh yes, let me re-emphasize those last two things that were said. Marta is a drum maker and she holds drum making classes, and it's so exciting to have her as one of us. And so she has all of these drums that she was able to bring for us to wonderfully use. And she paints on them. Some of you here have some of the ones that are painted on. And you can go look at her website. What is it called, Martha?
Rainbow Rhythms at Etsy.com.
RainbowRhythms@Etsy.com. You wouldn't believe the beautiful paintings, really the best I've ever seen of paintings on drums. Marta hand does them. So you can buy a drum from her and have her paint on it, a painting of your choice. Like I had her, I described to her my childhood horse that I had through my growing up years. And wow, after talking about it several times, she reproduced the personality of my horse. It's my exact horse of my childhood. She didn't ever see a picture. We just talked about it. So it's amazing what Martha can draw forth, in the painting of the drums. So I encourage you to go to her website and come to her drumming making class. When's the next one?
September 30th, Saturday,
September 30th, Saturday at the library?
at the Ashland Library.
At the Ashland Library. September 30th, Saturday at the Ashland Library. What time?
There's a flyer in the back.
Flyer in the back. I think it's an all-day thing.
9 to 3.
9 to 3.
And help with chair adoption.
Yes, if you can try to fit into the rows where we've got seats, that's what we're wanting people to do. If there's any way, like there's some seats right, I guess take the chair off of this one here and sit close, okay? All right. Can't think of any other announcements. So let's enter into the sacred part of our ceremony, as we were starting to do with the drumming. We're going to have some drumming done by our people up here who are our musicians, leading into a wonderful song that we're going to sing together. We're going to be doing a lot more group drumming through the course of our time together too. Here we go.
Hi. I really want to thank Jeff Solomon here for joining Richard and I up here too. Thanks for being with us. In this beginning part, before we sing the chant, just percussive. If you want to join us, kind of feel what we're setting first, and then you can join us in the drumming. You might want to move to this too and dance a bit. That's totally welcome. And then we'll move into singing the chant. Kind of set that groove. Play or dance, whatever you feel. Let's
Let's all stand and welcome in the directions. We turn first to the east. Beautiful Kabbalah, the light shining through it. So thankful to be able to look at this every week. It represents our life on earth and the heavenly realms blessing us. And so in the direction of the east, we look to the highest point of that diagram, the white circle up at the top, because in the east we welcome the God's eye view of things that comes from the high-flying eagle. We need that God's eye view right now, Spirit. Please implant it in us. Bring it down through all of the mechanisms of the universe, through all the geometries of the cosmos, down into our hearts, that green circle in the middle. We receive today. We come to receive your insights, the wisdom from on high. We need it right now on planet Earth. Please, we are ones that are opening to it. Come and be with us now, Spirit of the East. Aho. Aho. Now let's turn to the south. In the south, we imagine the warm fires. Well, we've got a lot of fire around us right now. And fire is a sacred thing. Even the burning of the forest is a sacred thing. Maybe native peoples who lived more nomadically in times past went on journeys away from here during the burnings of the fires. I don't know. But the fires are a sacred thing. We need them, and we honor you, great fires of the south. You bring us inspiration. You bring us cleansing and renewal. You bring us back to a beginner's mind so we can see everything in a more simple and up-close way. You even bring us back to appreciating our simple breath. So we thank you, powers of the south. We thank you, great fires that do your work amongst us. Come and be with us now, powers of the south. Aho! Aho! Let's turn to the west. The cooling waters of the ocean where many of us have gone and want to be. We welcome you, water. Water all over this planet. We bless you, water. Like Grandma Aggie says, we just need to send our blessings and prayers to you all the time. Great, deep waters. Waters that do bring insight into the depths of our emotions. Cleanse us now. Come with cleansing thoughts, cleansing powers to us right while we meet here this morning. We welcome you, powers of the west. Aho. Aho. And then we turn to the north, the great mountains, the snow-capped ones in our midst, Mount Shasta, Mount McLaughlin, Mount Hood, all these amazing beings of ancient truth and knowing. We spread our legs apart a little bit and feel our connection with Mother Earth. In the north, we acknowledge the passing of the cycles of life, death, and rebirth. And we know that we are impermanent and yet eternal. So we welcome you, ancestors and powers of the north. We truly welcome you into our hearts, knowing that the cycles of life are a good thing. Come and be with us now, wisdom of the powers of the north. Aho. Aho. And let's turn toward the center now. And with your hands that have been outstretched, bring a blessing to your own heart. Take a deep breath. Ground yourself all the way down. Breathe down through your feet. Feel the groundedness of you. You, an axis mundi, with an open heart and a mind that's connected to spirit. You are such an important being on planet Earth because you draw spiritual knowledge and wisdom through you to act it out in amazing ways on planet Earth. So we welcome each one of you here because without you, this circle wouldn't be what it is today. So thank you so much for being here. And turn to your neighbor now with namaste.
On the face of God, I hold you in my heart. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of God.
Centuries, drumming has been a central part of cultures all over the world, right? We know this. It it's been exciting for me to get to travel all over the world and to experience the different types of drumming and the different masterful beats. Like when I was in Turkey, the Dumbek drum, I couldn't believe how fast their fingers could move and what they could do. Yeah, like that. Show us a little bit of Dumbek.
Turkish
And then in Africa, the djembe. Who wants to show us some djembe? Deep, ooh, mother beat. Yeah. And then Native American drums are like these that we hold that are called water drums. Do a couple beats on the water drum to know the sound of that particular beautiful water drum sound. See how it's different.
Sorry to interject, but this is from Pakistan.
Pakistan.
And it's made such that you can also sing.
Sing with it.
So it kind of resonates without the microphone. The way it's built.
And a tambourine is a kind of drum.
This is a drum, it just went bad.
The drum went bad. It's a gypsy drum. Yeah, so drumming. You know, drumming has been what?
It's called a rick.
It's called a rick.
This is a Peruvian drum. It's a cajon.
Oh, let's do that one too.
Peruvian.
Afro-Caribbean. Nice. And we've got actually a taiko drum from Japan here too. See how it's covered on both sides of the skin? It's a different kind of a resonance. Wow. Any other kind of drums that we've Yeah. So, drums. They're so important all over the world. Drums are at wedding ceremonies, they're at births, they're at deaths, they're at harvests, and all kinds of rites of passage. Drumming is the way that humans have used to connect to the earth and to one another, right? As a universal vibrational language, the drum beat puts us in connection with the heartbeat of the earth. When we do a shamanic journey, which we're going to do here today, it's at 4 hertz. And that's, they say about, somehow they figure out that's the rhythm of the earth. So it actually does put us in touch with the rhythm of the earth. The drum, it's an easily accessible tool for reconnecting with our deeper selves. Our hands connect with the drum, and those vibrations move through us, and they give us energy and vitality. So in turn, the drum actually calms us and centers us and reconnects us with ourselves. So drumming, it's one of the oldest healing rituals known to humanity. I wonder when they first invented it, don't you? I wonder how it first came about. Drumming the heartbeat rhythm can be done with little or no previous musical background or training. It's an experience accessible to all people. The ability to drum is alive in us all, as we so readily saw this morning. As soon as you hand somebody a drum, they get kind of excited. So, drumming, I'm so glad you're here with us today to experience the magic of drumming. Our next song is a wonderful song about listening. And so as we're drumming today, you know, we are expressing ourselves, but it's also a time to listen to what's happening inside of you. What are the rhythms saying to you? What is Mother Earth saying to you? So let's enjoy this song about listening.
Yeah, this song is called Listen. And we've done it here before. It's a lovely 3-part chant, and Meredith Buck wrote it, and she was on sort of a retreat. And at the end of the retreat, they had to, I believe, be blindfolded and make their way across this river or creek on their hands and knees. And literally, they had to listen for the sounds of the drums on the other side of the river, and that was kind of like the culmination of the retreat and welcoming them back home. So I thought it'd be fun today. The words basically listen, listen, listen. Listen, let your body be your guide. Let the waters decide. Lose yourself in the meantime. And then the third part, lay yourself down on the rocks now. Let your body down in the river. Listen for the drumming on the other side. Lose yourself in the meantime. So we're just going to do it together, like a few times for each part, and then I'll divide you up into 3 parts, and we'll have some harmony. Each of you will take one of those parts. Listen, 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 listen. That's it for the first part. Listen, 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 listen. Couple more. Listen, listen. Everybody, part one.
Listen, listen, listen,
One of the things that drumming can do is takes us into a deeper listening place. Takes us into the dream time. Takes us into listening to our deeper self, our deep unconscious. So here's a poem for you by Antonio Machado, and it's called Last Night. Last night, as I was sleeping, I dreamt a marvelous illusion that there was a spring breaking out in my heart. I said, along what secret aqueduct are you coming to me, O water? Water of a new life that I have never drunk? Last night, I was sleeping. I dreamt a marvelous illusion that there was a beehive here in my heart. And the golden bees were making white combs and sweet honey out of my old failures. Last night, as I was sleeping, I dreamt a marvelous illusion that there was a fiery sun here in my heart. It was fiery because it gave warmth as if from a hearth, and it was sun because it gave light, and it brought tears to my eyes. Last night, as I was sleeping, I dreamt a marvelous illusion that there was God here in my heart. God, is my soul asleep? Have those beehives who labored by night stopped? And the water of wheel of thought, is it dry? The cup's empty, wheeling out carrying only shadows. No, no, I heard a voice say, your soul is not asleep. Your soul is not asleep. It neither sleeps nor slumbers, but watches. Its clear eyes open, far off things, and listens, and listens, and listens at the shores of the great silence. It listens at the shores of the great silence. Isn't that beautiful? Your soul listens. This next song is one in which it's a Hebrew song, and it's one that we can both move and sing and let our bodies join into the listening.
Yeah, I think Meaton put these words to music.
You know, Deborah Thermal, Mitten.
So the words hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. And then the second part, kol hanshama, hallelujah, hallelujah. So if you could say kol hanshama, kol hanshama. And basically the translation is, let all living things, let all things that breathe, praise the Creator. So let's stand, kind of put our drums to the side. We'll get to move our bodies, like Norma said. And if you have difficulties with this step, just kind of make it your own, okay? So right foot in front of the left. If you are left-handed, you may find it better to put your left foot in front. And the first step is just stepping with your foot on the right, stepping down, and then the foot that's in the back doing a step. So you're kind of rocking back and forth. And front, back, and front, back. Kind of like a rocking motion, right? Front. And the first part kind of has an organized step. And the second part, you get to just be kind of wild and clap your hands and move around, dance around, greet each other. And then when you get back to the first part, stop wherever you are and you do this. So you want to hear the song? Yeah. Wow. So we're going to start kind of slow. And then we're going to get a little faster as we go. And then we're going to bring it down slower. When you hear it get slower, you know we're going to end. Hallelujah. Okay. Back to the stepping part. Next time we'll move on that second part. Now clap and walk around.
Feels good to move some, doesn't it? I want to do a special kind of prayer time now where there's plenty of things to pray for. I'd like to have some people who either want prayer for your own body or something in your own life, or want to be representative of praying for something on earth, something that needs somebody or something, some situation that needs help. I want to have about, 5 or 6 or 8 people come up here and join together around the area of this golden light cloth here. And then the rest of us all take up our drums. And we're going to do not a speaking, but a drumming prayer for the people, a rhythmic prayer that our drums are bringing the blessing, our drums are bringing the vibrational attunement, bringing the sense of powerful healing for these situations. So who would like to come forward? And I want you to, one at a time, speak out what we're praying for that you're representing, okay?
I forgive myself and I forgive all others.
Yes. Aho. Let's say aho after each chronic illness. Aho. We're going to pray for that to be healed.
Healing the perception of scarcity, not enough, lack, limitation.
That's great. Aho. We say aho to healing that.
Clarity in the direction that my life will be going.
Aho.
Oh, we can all relate to that. Okay.
A healing of a broken heart as I let go of someone important, but just the unknown. My heart is broken.
Yes. Healing of the broken heart from letting go of someone.
Aho.
Unknown. Aho.
For all my family that has been in such distress in Houston and Austin and also my son, to release the heaviness and the sadness I feel so that God can take care of it. What do you mean?
Serious. I want you to come around this golden cloth and each pick up a part of it and hold it up like a blanket of light in your midst and receive. It's sort of like receiving the blessings. Native Americans do ceremonies like this where you hold up a cloth and people throw money in the cloth, throw blessing things in the cloth. They're throwing our blessings in here. Maybe later we'll use it for the money. But let's get out our drums and have our drummers.
That'd be a good way to
help
do the
us
collect.
bring down a blessing and answer to prayer for the prayers that have been spoken and all those that have not been spoken that remain silent in your hearts. This is a time of bringing in blessing through the drumming. Here we go. vibrating through your body. So the healing power of drumming. So many different ways to tune in to rhythm. A few years back, in the early 80s, when I was first starting to study shamanism, back then there was nothing written about the healing power of drumming. In recent years, though, so much research has been done, and there's articles popping out in places like the New York Times, the Yoga Journal, the Wall Street Journal, Newsweek, Psychology Today, and on and on. All these researchers have found that because rhythm is so intrinsic to our nature, that drumming has great healing power. There was one study I saw about Alzheimer's patients. Even in the latter stages of this disease, when they can't recognize their own family members, can't recognize their own name, they can copy simple rhythms played on the drum. They can repeat the rhythms. This form of interaction takes on a great significance when all of the other forms of communication have diminished. Drumming seems to focus Alzheimer's patients' brains for a short time, and they seem momentarily coherent. These interludes, however brief, are priceless to their loved ones. The shaman's technique of drumming to take people into a visionary, yet relaxed, yet focused, and coherent state of mind. It relies on this fundamental truth about our nervous systems. You know what that truth is? Our brains are rhythmically organized. We didn't need the scientists to tell us that, but it's kind of wonderful that they're admitting this, that our brains are rhythmically organized. So when we really buy into that and start to work with that, who knows all that could be accomplished. When I was at the incredible ancient site of Newgrange in Ireland, I've told you this before, but on the petroglyphs there on the side of this site, there were these wave patterns like this, and the lady didn't say it in her talk to the tourists, but afterwards I was asking her, what do you think those patterns are like this on the side, and the rocks are on top of those? She said those were rhythmic sound waves, and they carried those rocks here on the sound waves. That's the only explanation, unless spaceships brought them, but that's the only explanation of how these giant rocks got here. So who knows what the power of our brains could be when we really take this seriously, that our brain is organized by rhythms. It helps us how to understand that the drum is so necessary to our human brains to relieve stress. Focused or organized by rhythms, our brains can calm down and entrain to a rhythm, just like we were experiencing here with our drumming together. When you hit a drum, you are placed squarely in the here and now. Some of the stress in our lives, a lot of it is created by dwelling on things that happened in the past, right? Or worrying about things in the future. Regret, worry, but it's very difficult to be stressed like that when you're just focusing on the present moment on your drum beat. It's difficult to be in a playful mode and be stressed at the same time. So when you're drumming, you're feeling pretty playful, and it really does help to clear the stress away. Natalie Goldberg, she was a great writer of our times, she lived in New Mexico, so I knew her, and she said, stress is basically a disconnection from the earth. Stress is basically a disconnection from the earth, a forgetting of the breath. Stress makes us believe that everything is an emergency. Well, nothing is really that important. I like that, because nothing's really that important to get us disconnected from the earth or disconnected from our own breath. Now brain scientists tell us that drumming decreases stress by increasing our alpha brain waves. These brain waves are associated with feelings of well-being and euphoria. When I say alpha brain waves, how many of you know what I mean? Alpha brain waves. So we're pretty versed in what the brain waves are, But just so that we're on the same brain wavelength for a minute, I'm going to talk about the wavelengths of brain. The slowest brainwave state is delta, and that comprises frequencies up to 4 hertz. A hertz is 1 cycle per second, so that would be like a drum beat once a second. This state of consciousness is associated with unconsciousness in the deepest level of sleep. What is that one? Delta. Delta, the deepest levels of sleep. The second level is called theta, and that exists between 4 and 8 hertz, so that's a little bit faster drum beat. This state is where hallucinations and imagery take place, and it's the state that we go into in a shamanic journey when we're going into the dream time. So that's the theta state. What is it? Theta. And the third one is alpha. Alpha encompasses brainwave activity between 8 and 13 hertz. Alpha is considered the state of being very relaxed and yet alert. It's a state in which you can move in the world in a relaxed and yet focused state of, beingness. Alpha. The fourth level of consciousness is beta. Beta exists between 13 and 30 hertz. It's faster, It's a wakeful state of being, even an aroused state of being. And it can be associated with euphoria or manic states. Okay, so what is that one? Beta. Beta. So our brain waves, of course, are influenced by external stimuli. So the kind of music that we listen to, the sounds that are coming to us all the time, are stimulating our internal brain structure. Brains do begin to pulsate with the beats. When we were at the Eclipse Festival, the beat went on all night, and it was so loud that later, when I was leaving and we drove about 20 miles away, we drove to a lake there and people were camping, and they said that they could hear that beat of that drum all night long, 20 miles away. So that beat, it was loud and strong. And it entrained people. And so Nisha and I went around to the different tents that had the different kinds of beats, and we called one, this is the alien robots in battle beat. This is the beat where the aliens are coming, but they're not in battle yet. And this is the beat of the ancient, African drummers beat. So anyway, we can tell the difference in beats, and we get different imaginations going on about what those beats are doing to us. And it drives our awareness to certain states of reality. So as one drifts into theta, images cross our mind and you enter into what Michael Harner, the grandfather of contemporary shamanism, refers to as the shamanic state of consciousness. He dubbed it the SSC. Have you ever heard that, the SSC? So we can get into the shamanic state where imagery has a purpose, where we're in this deep state and yet we're still conscious, and yet our imagery is answering certain questions, and it brings together, our deep inner self with the drum beat, and it carries us into a place where we can actually get answers from spirit. So we're going to do that together here in a few minutes. But I just want to give you a little bit more fuel for how important drumming is. I want to give you 3 examples of research that's gone on that is remarkable about how powerful drumming is. There's a woman brain researcher at the University of British Columbia, and she did a TED Talk that I recently heard, and she said that what we know about the brain is changing at a breathtaking pace. We used to think that after childhood the brain could not change, right? That it was just set in whatever patterns we set it in. But it's a misconception, and now we hear all about neuroplasticity, right? But when neuroplasticity first came out, they used to think it was just something that happened in a negative way. Like the brain could change, but it was changing in a way that was disorganizing and becoming less organized. But that is not true. Brain scientists are saying now that the brain can actually change, really, really change in its structure. And it does it in 2 different ways. Have you heard this before? It can change in its biochemical structure. And we know this by taking vitamins and all sorts of things that can change our biochemistry. And that they're saying that things actually do change the structure of the brain biochemically. Then the second way is that the brain structure can be altered through the neuron patterns and affecting, therefore, the long-term memory. So, for example, when we successfully learn a new motor skill like playing the piano or juggling, it actually changes the structure of the brain, and they have seen it and could measure it. Like, for example, they've measured the brain of a London taxi cab driver, and they've seen that his brain has a lot larger part that's about mapping. And then they've measured brains of people who do Braille with their fingers. And like, say if they do Braille with the right hand, the corresponding part of the brain that corresponds to the movement of the right hand is very large. So we actually do build structures in our brain as we learn new things. Isn't that interesting? So does that mean that we can learn anything? And why then do we tend to forget as we get older? And why don't people recover from brain damage? So what limits neuroplasticity? Well, what this brain researcher said is that the only and best driver, really, of the neuroplastic change in our brains is our behavior. And that sounds kind of simplistic, but
Can you read that again?
the best driver of neuroplastic change, of actually restructuring things in our brain, is our own behavior. Now that reminds me so much of our science of mind and unity teachings. Like, for example, Ernest Holmes says, there is one power in the universe and we can all use it. As one learns the truth will automatically set us free. He said, electricity was a reality in the universe when Moses led the children out of Israel to Egypt. Because it's a true natural law, and this is true of all natural laws. They've always existed, but we haven't understood how to use them, or we forget how to use them. He said, the road to freedom lies not through mysteries or occult performances, but through intelligent use of nature's forces and laws. The law of mind is as natural as any law that we see operating around us, like gravity. So let us waste no further time looking for the secret of success or the key to happiness. The door is already open for whomever will enter it. So this brain researcher is telling us it's our behavior that is the primary driver of change in our brains. She says the only difference between us is that one size does not fit all. Like, some of us have an innate proclivity towards sports. Others might have it towards writing or towards music. So we have to tune in to what our innate proclivity is if we want to move along fast. You can work on sports if you're not that good at them, and you can improve the structures of your brain. But if you want to move along rapidly, and if you're older and really want to capitalize on what your innate strengths already are, choose something that you know you're already innately good at, but then put all of your focus into improving it and learning that skill, and it will actually build your brain structures neurologically. Some people it might take 1,000 hours of practice, and others it might take 10,000, but you can master a whole new motor skill. Now I'm saying this to myself because sometimes I get discouraged and I think, oh, I'm the age I am, I can't do this, I can't learn that, but no, it's telling us the only limiting factor is where we put our attention and how we focus our minds and then putting our work into it. So she says that even after listening to today's talk, she was saying about her TED Talk, and I'll say it about being here today, your brain will be different. It will be creating new structures. So the littlest things actually are working on transmuting our brains. Now I think this is very important as we talked last week about the eclipse and the times that we're living in. That we are really being called to change our human brains. We really are. Don't you think that the brain part that needs building new structures is the part that knows how to be in peace? The part that knows how to not fight? The part that knows how to create new structures in the world for harmony and for well-being of all plants? I mean, there are parts of our brains that really do need building right now. So we each have some proclivities in certain directions that the human race really needs to move in those directions right now. So just for a moment, think about it for your own self. Like, you've got some talents, some skills that are the things that the human race needs right now. Patty?
I have to share this because my heart is just pounding, which is my internal drum. And when I breathe and connect to my heart, something happens that's profound. And what I want to share is, for me, one of the most wonderful teachings that I've received from Liz Gilbert's book, Eat, Pray, Love. When she was in India and she was trying to master her mind, she found herself going deeper and deeper into the mind. And the mind was going crazy because the mind was trying to be controlled. And she came across this very old teacher, and he said, Liz, go into your heart. All the mind hears every day is arguments and loud clanging noises. And all it wants is the quietude of the heart. And so when we bring our mind's focus into our heart, and like Norma is saying, what it is that we're really loving, that we're passionate about, that we have a desire to see fulfilled, then something happens that integrates these two, that the mind is actually longing to make that connection with our inner drum.
Oh, it's beautiful, Daddy. It really relates to what I was going to say next, and see if this can connect in with it. This scientist named Barry Quinn, Dr. Barry Quinn, he's a licensed clinical psychologist, and he works with people with a lot of trauma. And people with a lot of trauma, some of us have had a lot of trauma, and their brain waves become what's called hypervigilant. The brain waves become hypervigilant. And so what that means in terms of those alpha, beta, theta, delta brain waves is that they don't have any alpha brain waves. No alpha brain waves. Now alpha is that calm, centered focus that allows you to move through life in a calm way. Dehani Wahu, who was one of my Native American teachers, she taught us this song from her tradition that was about the alpha brain waves, and it was all about saying ah and breathing and coming into our heart. And so it was Teshna, Hey Na. It was all about ah sounds. It was about the alpha brain waves, she said. And so it's just what you're saying about coming into the heart, like using our voices and our thoughts to come into the heart. So what this guy did, the scientist who was experimenting with people with trauma, he said that he couldn't find anything that increased the alpha waves in people that needed it most. He did tests on people that were in this hypervigilance, and they actually had no alpha brain waves, none. And so he tried all different things like, biorhythm machines and all kinds of things, but nothing really worked. Even he tried transcendental meditation and had them go to transcendental meditation, really teach them how to meditate, and they really learned how to meditate, but still he tested their brain while meditating, no alpha brain waves. And then somebody suggested to him that he use drumming. And so the first time he had a group of 15 people with hypervigilance do drumming for a half an hour, just whatever way they wanted to, drumming for a half an hour, and then he tested their brains. Every single one of them had alpha brain waves. Wow. So drumming, it's amazing. And then one other short example here is a woman who was a man who was a well-known drum facilitator in the Bay Area, Arthur Hull. He tells about this experience of a woman who had been in Mill Valley in a hospital, and she had been in a terrible accident that had paralyzed her, and the doctors gave her almost no hope of regaining the movement in her body from her waist down. She had been a dancer. So here's an example of her mind wanting to dance again. The doctor's telling her there's no hope, but she decided to do whatever she could. So she started imagining and moving her body from her prone position, any movement that she could manage while she played a drum with her upper torso. So every day, for hours at a time, she would play the drum and then imagine that her legs were dancing to it as she played the drum. After a few weeks, she started to be able to wiggle her toes. After a few months, her legs started to move. And after 4 years of constant drumming and dancing in this way in her mind first, she became a dancer again. And now she's a drumming dancer or a dancing drummer, depending on her mood. And she has full movement in her body, and she's graceful and beautiful. So the drum is so powerful, yet so simple. I can honestly say that I never brought a drum and people together without having people afterwards expressing some sense of upliftment and excitement and euphoria. And the complete credit belongs to the drum, the magical, sacred drum. So just touch your drum that you've got right there with you right now and say thank you to it. Lots of times drums are made out of the skins of animals, you know? So thank the animal that gave its life for these healing properties that we can have that come through the drum. It's extraordinary that humans figured this out, you know? And that the drum is such a healing power that does bring us into tune with the ancient powers of the earth. And so, you know, shamanic peoples all over the planet have known that we can alter our brain waves and go into this shamanic state of consciousness. So for just the next few minutes, I want to have you lay your drums down and sit there quietly. And I'm going to take us on a short shamanic journey. Usually I drum for about 10 minutes to take us into that state. I'm just going to drum for maybe about 3 or 4 minutes, but here's what you do. You choose a place, and many of you have done this with me, you know, you choose a place in ordinary reality, in nature, where you've really been. And you have to be someplace you can picture vividly. So you picture yourself there vividly. And I'm going to tell you the directions right now, because when I start drumming, you're going to do this. I'm not going to be talking. Just going to be drumming the whole time. So these are the directions. You choose that place in ordinary reality, in nature. You take yourself there in your imagination. You leave somebody waiting there for you, a person you trust, like your mother, your partner, your child, somebody you really trust. It can be an animal, too, you could leave. Leave somebody waiting there for you, because that signifies you're going to come back to them. And then when I start the drumming, you give your mind the task. Like in any meditation practice, your mind needs to focus on something. So you give your mind the task of digging. In this practice, that's all you have to do. Tell your mind to dig. You dig, dig, dig. Put your mind to work. If it wanders away, say, nope, we're just digging for a few minutes here. Come on, mind, you can do it. So you keep putting your mind to work, digging, digging, digging. And then eventually, your mind will give way, and it will open up to another dimension. That's the underworld, the dream time, the altered state, the theta state where you're going. Then you see what you see there. See what it looks like. Where is your underworld place? It has its own geography, but you don't go wandering around there without your power animal guide. So the next thing you do before walking all around there is you ask your power animal to come to you. And you can tell if it's really your power animal by giving it the test of 4. That means it will show itself to you from 4 directions or in 4 parts of its body. Like say if it's an eagle, it might show you its eye, its beak, its talons, and its wings. So it will give you the test of 4 if it's your power animal, okay? So you have to call out to it, and then you have to say, give me the test of 4. And then it will. And then the next thing you do is you follow it wherever it goes. Like one woman got a big tiger, and it picked her up by the scruff of her neck and took her to its den and put her down with all the other babies there and started licking her all over. You know? Or another person had an eagle, and it picked them up by their shoulders and took them flying off. Or you can just imagine flying off with it if it flies off, you know. So do whatever your animal does, okay? So that's the journey. Those are the parts to it. The getting there by digging, the arriving in the place, having the power animal come to you and give it a test of 4, and then go on a little journey with the animal. And now if you get that far and you want to ask the animal a question about your life right now for guidance, you can ask a question and it will show you something. It'll show you something. It'll be symbolic, but it'll show you something that'll give you an answer about your life right now. So I want you to take a long, and then the last thing is I stop for a moment the beating, and I beat the drum 4 times, and that's your signal to stop your forward motion. And then I'll beat it rapidly. And as I'm beating it rapidly, your job is to retrace your steps like a movie rewinding. You've got to put your mind through the paces and make your mind remember everything that happened. You know, the place that you're in, back through the meeting of the animal, back up the tunnel, and go back to the place you started and meet your person waiting there for you. It's very important that you sew up the neurological pathway, and you bring it all the way through back to where you started. That builds the neurological structure in your brain, okay? So take a deep breath, just while you're sitting there. Enjoy the moment of relaxation and feel your hips on the chair and your feet on the floor. And your shoulders relaxing a little bit more. All the way to your hands relaxing, your arms feeling heavy and relaxed. Your legs relaxing as you breathe deeply. Feel your legs getting heavier and relaxed, all the way down to your feet and toes relaxing. Deep breaths throughout the whole journey. Keep breathing deeply. Now picture that place that you're going to go in from. Picture it very vividly. Open up all your senses. I want you to see what you see there. What do you see in that place you've chosen? What color is the sky there? Are there any trees there? Is there any water there? Kneel down and pick up some of the earth right there in your fingers and feel it in your hands, your sense of touch. And bring it up to your nose and smell that earth right there. What does that earth smell like? Oh, it smells so good. And then turn and look over your shoulder and see your person that you're leaving waiting there for you. They nod and smile at you and say, it's good to go on this journey. Go ahead and go. I'll be waiting here for you. And now put your attention back on this dirt right here that you're going to dig into. Take a deep breath, and as I begin drumming, put your mind to work digging. Digging, digging, digging. And have a good journey. Here we go. sure to bring yourself all the way back through that tunnel, to the person waiting there for you. Deep breath, and bring yourself back into this body, this room. Wiggle your toes and your fingers as if waking up from a dream. It's really important to ground your journey back in ordinary reality afterwards. So you can feel free to share it verbally afterwards when we're milling around and talking to one another. But in order to ground it just briefly right now, I'd like everybody to stand up. And with your eyes closed, so move apart from your drum a little bit and put your drum in a stable place. But as I and my drummer guy here drum a little bit with you, for you, I want you to take something that happened in your journey with your eyes closed, nobody's looking at you, and move something. Move what happened in your journey. If you saw an animal and it moved in certain ways, let your body move that way a little bit. Or if you got some answer, it has some motion involved, some motion that you saw in your journey, just to remind yourself of it, just to ground it in your body here in a way that you won't forget it. We're going to drum just for a couple minutes and let you ground it in your body, okay? Go with that grounding, but when you get home, draw your journey, write it down. If you want to ask me questions about it afterwards, you can share it with each other. Right now we're going to take the offering, and you can sit down again, and while the offering is going on, there's a song. Yeah, song.